Okay, so we talked about right triangles and how you find the missing side of a right triangle when they give you two of the sides. But now we're going to talk about how you can find a missing side when you only know one side, but you also know what the angles are. So these are called special right triangles because they have specific angle measures. So the first kind of special right triangle is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And that means that the angles in the triangle are, one of them is 45, the other one is also 45, and then obviously it has to have a 90-degree angle. So this is a special one because it's actually an isosceles right triangle. That means two of the sides are the same. That's what the tick marks mean. But the pattern that this type of triangle always follows, so every time I see that one of the angles, like that the angles are 45, 45, and 90, that means I can follow this pattern. So the pattern, we draw it in a little chart to help us figure it out. So it kind of looks like a tic-tac-toe board. So I'm going to draw this chart. So in this first column, I'm going to put the angle measures. So 45, 45, and 90. Okay. In the middle column, I'm going to put what the pattern is. So the pattern goes that this side is x, this side is also x, and this side is x square root of 2. This last column is where you're going to fill in what the numbers from your triangle actually are. Now, in this is just an example. It doesn't have any side lengths on it, so we can't like use it yet. But this is the chart that you're going to use every time to solve for whichever side you're supposed to be figuring out. So let's look at a real example. So if I'm supposed to be finding the missing side lengths, I only know one of the numbers, one of the side lengths, so I can't do a squared plus b squared because I only have one number. So I see that the angles are 45, 45, and the box means 90. So then I'm going to draw this little chart. I know I can use it because the angle numbers are 45, 45, and 90. And the pattern inside is always x square root of 2. Now, this column, I'm supposed to be putting the 8 somewhere over there. I have to figure out, well, is the 8 side, is it across from a 45-degree angle or is it across from a 90-degree angle? Now, we talked first semester about how do you know which angle is across from which side. So here's the side. If I would cover this up with my hand, we remember it would be pointing to the angle across from it would be 45. So I'm going to put the number 8 in one of the 45 columns over here. It doesn't matter which one you put it in because they're both the same. So I'm going to put it up there, 8, because it's across from 45, so I'll put it in 45. Now to figure out the other sides, this one asks for both of the other sides. So I need to fill out these other two boxes. So I'm going to write, this is now an equation. Sometimes you have to solve this equation. So right now I have x equals 8. Sometimes it's like 2x equals 9 or something, okay? But this one is just x equals 8 already. I know what number x is supposed to represent. In this one, it's supposed to represent 8. That's what I just figured out, okay? So if x equals 8, then I need to plug in this 8 everywhere in this chart that there is an x. So I have an x there and an x there. Now when I plug 8 into this x on the other 45, it just turns into an 8. Nothing special. I don't need to calculate anything. That tells me, well, whichever other side is across from a 45-degree angle is also 8. That makes sense because 45 and 45, that's the same number. So the sides across from them should also be the same number. So in my picture over here, this 8 right here, which side is that going to go on? Is it going to go on the long hypotenuse or is it going to go up right here on the shorter side? Well, this side is across from 45. So that means that side is the 8. And I still have to figure out what the long side is. So I need to plug in the long side. That's across from 90. So it's going to be whatever I get in this box down here. Now I'm supposed to be plugging in 8 into that x. So instead of writing x squared of 2, I'm going to put that number right there. So I have 8 square root of 2. We're replacing the x and we're putting in 8. Now, does this simplify anymore? Is there like a fraction and I need to get a square root out of the bottom? Or can I multiply? Am I allowed to multiply a whole number with a square root? No. So this is as simplified as it gets. So then I'm going to put this on the side across from 90, which is 8 square root of 2. And now I've answered the question because it wanted to know both side lengths in this triangle. Okay? Let's look at another one. In this one, I also want to find both missing sides. So I see I have only one side length, but I have angle measures, 45, 45, and 90. So I'm going to draw. I know I'm allowed to use this little pattern because of the angle numbers. Whoops, there we go. And the pattern is always the same, x, 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 square root of 2. All right, so this time the side length that I have is this 12 right here. I'm figuring out, where am I supposed to put 12 over here? Well, is it across from a 45-degree angle or is it across from a 90-degree angle? So I see 12 is this side. What's the angle across from that? Is the box. The box, we know that means 90. So I'm going to put that in the 90 row. Not 90, I'm putting 12. Hello. 12, because that's the side length. This is now an equation. So I have x square root of 2 equals 12. Okay. I have to solve for x. Like, I don't know what x is. It doesn't say x equals something. It says x square root of 2 equals something. How do I get rid of this square root of 2 in this equation? Well, this is just like if it said 2x. We know, oh, to get rid of the number, we would divide. So it's the same thing in this. I'm going to divide by the square root of 2. Divide square root of 2. That cancels out, and I'm left with x equals. Now, over here, am I allowed to do a whole number divided by a square root? No. So I write it like this. But wait a minute. We learned last week I'm not allowed to have a square root in the bottom of a fraction. So how do I get rid of that? Oh, this one we were rationalizing, so I multiply the top and bottom by that square root in the bottom. Times square root of 2 times square root of 2. So we know 12. Am I allowed to do 12 times square root of 2? No. So I was going to say 12 square root of 2 because it's a whole number and a square root. You cannot multiply those. Square root of 2 times square root of 2, I'm allowed to do that. And that turns into the square root of 4. And we know that the square root of 4 is a whole number. That's going to turn into a 2. So this is 12 square root of 2 over 2. And then I have to simplify the whole numbers. 12 divided by 2, does that turn into something else? Yes, it does. It turns into, 12 divided by 2 is 6. Square root of 2. So I finally solved for x. X equals 6 square root of 2. Fantastic. So we are remembering I need to plug in whatever I just got, that number, I need to plug it into this chart where I see an x. Now I'm not going to plug it into here because I already have a number there. I need to plug it into the x's in the chart where I don't have numbers in this column. So I need to plug it in there and I need to plug it in there. Now we just said x was 6 square root of 2. So this is just x. So I'm allowed to just put 6 square root of 2. This just says x. So I'm going to put 6 square root of 2. I don't need to like multiply this with anything. Like in the last one, I had to multiply and I put 8 and square root of 2. It didn't just say the same thing again. But in this one, there is only x in this column, so I don't need to like multiply it with something. It just says this. So I know that these numbers are the side lengths across from this angle. So where's the side across from 45? Well, here's a 45. Across from that is down here, so that's going to be 6 square root of 2. And the other 45 is right here across from that. I'm also putting 6 square root of 2. A good way to double check is to make sure when it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle, 2 of the sides should say the same thing and one of the sides should say something else. Two are the same, one's different. Let's do one more example. On this one, I'm going to say specifically, we're going to solve for K. We're going to solve for this side right here. Okay. So in this one, I have a 45, 45, and a 90. So I am going to write my little chart. 45, 45, and 90. And the pattern is x, x, x square root of 2. You don't need to memorize this pattern. It will be given to you on any test that we take. So here we go. The number that they gave me, in this one, the side length they gave me was 10 square root of 3. I need to figure out which am I supposed to put it in. Am I supposed to put it on a 45 row, or am I supposed to put it because it's across from 90? So here's the side. What's the angle across from that is the box, which we know is a 90. So I'm going to put it in the 90 row. So I have 10 square root of 3. Okay, that means this is the equation I'm supposed to write. X square root of 2 equals 10 square root of 3. And I need to solve this. We know to get rid of this, I just did it in the last one, I got to divide by that number. Divide by that number. That cancels out and I'm left with just x. Yay. Over here, I am not allowed to do 10 divided by square root of 2 because this is a whole number, this is square root. I could divide square root of 3 and square root of 2 because they are both square roots, but 3 divided by 2 is not a whole number. So I'm just going to leave it 10 square root of 3 over square root of 2 because 3 divided by 2 is 1.5 and you don't want decimals. We want to keep it a fraction, so we're going to leave it like this. Now, I'm not allowed to leave the square root in the bottom, so I do have to rationalize just like we did in the last one. So times square root of 2 times square root of 2. On the top, which of those numbers can I multiply? My two square roots, they can multiply together. So 3 times 2 is 6. On the bottom, square root, I can multiply those, so that's going to be square root of 4. I know the square root of 4 is a whole number. It turns into a 2 over 2. And then I'm checking, can I simplify 10 divided by 2? I would type that in the calculator. And yes, 10 divided by 2 is 5. And that's square root of 6. Okay. So that tells me x is 5 square root of 6. So here we go. I got to plug this in. Plugging it in anywhere I see an X in this chart that has a blank spot over there. So I'm plugging it in. Here we go, just X, so I don't need to, what am I writing? 5 square root of 6. And this is just an X, 5 square root of 6. I look at my chart. Which side did I want? I'm going to say in this one, I want side K. K is across from a 45 degrees. We said, the sides across from 45 are 5 square root of 6. So final answer is K equals 5 square root of 6. That is the answer. That's the side we want. Watch the video again. Make sure you have written all of these examples down. And you can go ahead and start the formative. If you have questions, make sure you send it in the chat.